Hey, Matt, what's going on?
Hey, Steve, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm great. We're here with the Risk Control Show. I'm Steve Wilmes, and this is Matt Kita, and we're doing an episode today on when should you take attendance during an active shooter incident, right? So this little girl here with her little shotgun walks in, or her rifle, and she's like, I'm walking the halls, I'm going to do a lot of damage, and you're frightened. You don't know where they're at. And Matt, when we do these drills, a lot of times you're sitting with the principal, you're sitting with a teacher, and kind of observing them. Talk a little bit about what you see when you're out there and how difficult it is to take attendance.
Oh, well, first of all, consider the age, right? I mean, look, no matter what age, when you're in that situation, you're kind of freaking out, But consider again some of the schools that we've done recently where there were some younger children where you're trying to control kids that are not, they're pre just a touch over preschool. They're kindergartners, first graders who are scared,
Right.
and they don't know what to do. And then some of them they don't take it seriously. They think it's a game,
Right.
you know. So you have them scrambling everywhere. You're trying to get them quiet, and you're also trying to make sure that you have every child under your care is accounted for.
Right.
Like, did some of them not come back from recess? Like, what if this happened right after recess, right? Did all your kids come back from recess? Because obviously at the start of the day you take attendance and you know everybody who's there, but after that, unless a situation like this arises, it doesn't occur to you to have to do it again. So when recess happens, did all your kids come back? Did a kid go to the bathroom
Yeah.
and hasn't come back?
Yeah.
And when you're in the middle of a situation like this, it's very easy to kind of, like, you forget that Anthony went to the bathroom, or you forget that Alicia and Sylvia, who are really good friends, haven't come back from lunch or from recess yet.
Right.
Yeah,
Or Anthony didn't tell you that he went to the restroom and slipped out.
yes,
Right. And now,
we've seen that too.
yeah. And then you're in the dark and everyone's crouched down. Sometimes their face is not visible to you.
Yep.
Right. And so now you're trying to take attendance. So, wow. I mean, the other piece of that is really how you take attendance. And I know that there's a couple incidents where you and I were doing these drills, and like you said, it's chaos in there a lot of
Yes.
times. Sometimes
Yes.
you have children that are on the spectrum. They're not, it's not that they're not taking it serious, but they have behaviors that are excitable and kind of uncontrollable at times. So you're dealing
Yes.
with all that. And, I put up here, Matt, like for attendance, everyone should get safe first and foremost, right?
Yes.
And then make sure everyone is okay. And then try not to make noise. And then you could talk a little bit about even like we had a couple principals that decided it was a really great idea to do everything on their phone. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And then these classrooms are checking in. You can talk a little bit about that too,
Oh,
because
yeah.
I
Oh,
found
yeah.
that
No.
fascinating. I'm usually the guy that is the shooter, and I'm out in the field, so I don't get to see a lot of it like Matt does, because I'm doing other parts of the active shooter scenarios. But Matt's
Right.
in the, usually in the room with them. So
Yeah. And look, it's one of the things that really drives home the point that drills are so critical to understanding what kind of obstacles, challenges could arise in an actual situation,
Right.
an actual incident. And you don't know until you try. Like this, like the one that I think you have in mind, Steve. We did this drill and she had it all set up with her phone. She was taking emails, she was taking texts, she was noting it down and everything, and she was trying to follow this all on her phone, and it was extremely difficult to maneuver and handle all that, all these people coming in, and our scenario had a setup. And I think, Steve, that this reflects the likely reality of an actual incident. Our scenario system around the drill set up several different potential scenarios in
Yeah,
classes.
like so we had
Yeah,
we had a child who went to the bathroom without notifying anyone. We had someone that was still at lunch, someone that was in the nurse's office. We had someone that was in discipline. We had a teacher that even during the drill, because we don't announce them, teacher that was coming from the workroom got caught outside. We have all kinds of wild things that happen. We actually had the best one was that librarian. It's always a librarian. So a librarian comes up to I don't know if she was at a doctor's appointment or whatever, but the school day had already started.
yeah.
She came to work. And she sees us out there, and she's like, "Hey, you got a kid over here." It's like, thanks. So that kid was hiding, and you just gave him away. Like,
Right.
What are you doing?
Right. And yeah, when it came to taking attendance, it was just really difficult for the principal to stay on top of that because she's dealing with that kind of chaos, Steve.
Right.
And that's on top of she's also communicating with the district office and trying to maintain it. And we had other people in the room as well. There was a teacher that normally wouldn't have been there
Right.
who was there. And I was there.
Right.
And she said at the end, it's like, you know what? I mean, next time I'm having like a clipboard and paper.
Right.
I'm doing this all paper and pencil.
Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
trying to do this on the phone was next to impossible.
Yeah. And you get focused on it, and you get sucked in, and you're trying to read an email. You have one little screen. Now you got to click back, try and find it on that screen, mark it, whatever it is. Where at least with the email system or text message system, and you have pen and paper, and I'm just showing the pen and paper like it's old technology. It's
effective.
I sent that video to my brother, who I think it hit the news now. So he worked for a large shoe manufacturer, very famous, and they had a false active shooter. But he said, so I sent him some of the training videos because they hadn't had any training. And he said, I just love that you remind everyone that pen and paper is technology. Like, it's old technology, but it is technology. And I think we get so caught up in these fancy electronic systems, the high-tech stuff. Like, I can remember doing some drills, and it's like, okay, the other school site is not responding, and we need to get a message to them. How do we do that? And it's like, well, walk over there. Or take one of the bicycles and ride over there. You know? Like, and these were earthquake drills, so they weren't, shooter incidents. But we have to remember that sometimes the old technology is the best because you can do it under any circumstance. I always go back to that Millennial Project when they brought the old retired guy out of the military, and there was the newfangled kids, and they were trying to show how smart they were by taking tech, and we downed your systems this time because he defeated all of their airplanes and ships in like a matter of a couple hours, right? And so they said, well, that's not fair, and and he's like, okay, whatever. And they say, well, we're not going to allow you to use any of the technology, right? Because he had figured out their technological systems. So they're like, okay. So you know what he did? He took a couple flashlights because they downed all their radar systems, that they weren't supposed to get planes off the ground. So he went out there with flashlights and got them all launched, went and destroyed all their ships again. It's like, sometimes you got to go back to that basic system. So really the point of this little podcast video here today is when should you take the attendance? Well, I think, again, it's going back to that whole point of after it's safe. Like, this is one of those scenarios. It's usually over in 5 to 6 minutes. It's one of those scenarios that you have time to take attendance, right? And it's not like anybody's going anywhere. The sooner you can get to it, the better. But you have to make sure you're safe. You don't want to be, calling out names. You don't want to be clicking on phones and shining light in certain areas, because then you draw that shooter to your position and to the fact that you have kids in that room, and you just don't want to do that. So if it's unsafe to do it, if you hear movement around there, if it's right at the beginning, really the key is making sure everyone is safe. Get them safe, get them down, out of the way, not visible, and then you can focus on the attendance. Nobody's going anywhere, and so at some point you got to know who is not in your room or who may have had to run off campus, but you got time on this one, right? And I think that was a lot of the point of the drills that we see out there,
Yeah. It's you have to stay safe. Attendance is important in the long run, but in the short run, you need to focus on keeping your charges, the children under your care. You need to keep them safe, and that's the first and only priority you need to have in your system.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Well, with that, folks, don't forget I don't know why I keep trying to show the screen for the YouTube and everything, and it just won't show up. Like, it's weird. I don't know. But anyway,
we'll figure it out.
Yeah, you know what? If you're watching this on YouTube, check us out on wilmes.co. And if you're needing a little bit of training, we are on Dollar Training Club and Udemy, so you can always catch us there. Feel free to send us any types of questions that you have. We'd be happy to answer them. You can do that right here in the comments. And otherwise, we'll see you on the next episode of the Risk Control Show.